Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Purpose. With me today, I have the talented Isabelle Daikeler, which I've hopefully said right. And she's a visionary holistic wellness expert and committed to guiding you towards inner alignment and spiritual healing. Isabella, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
First, so I'm calling you Isabella, not Isabel. Sorry. First, a very
So,
easy question. Where in the world are you?
I'm from California, Los Angeles.
Lovely. My sister lives there. Say hi
Oh,
if you see her. She's North Hollywood.
oh, okay. No, not far at all.
Oh, there we
Like an
go.
hour
I
and a
mean,
half.
which by LA, so you say an hour and a half to me, that's like a whole other county. That's almost halfway to London. But in LA,
Oh,
it's not far, is it?
yes. An hour and a half is the minimum, like work drive morning and night,
Right.
right? For most people. Yeah.
Uh, I do like LA though. It's a lovely vibe to it. Um, so the work that you do, first of all, really like you have built a practice around helping people reconnect with their authentic selves. But who are you? Like, what is your authentic self?
So you're asking me a little bit of where I'm coming from and what led me to.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood the question. So I was a track and field assistant coach and a trainer
Oh, awesome.
for a long time, for at least over a decade. Sports psychology, sport nutrition, rehabilitation. Um, and when I was much younger, I did classical dance for like 8 years.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
very physical, right? Most of my work was about the body. And then a lot of things happened. But the major event that led me to the here and now is when I gave birth. I was 40 years old. That was 17 years ago. I was not able to walk, almost not walk for about 10 years. And then took me 2, 3 years to really get back on my feet. So if I had to say that the before and after, that would be the moment of the before and after, where my work was always about conversations. I always enjoyed conversation with people. I always enjoyed getting to know my clients. And because I was doing nutrition, body work, oh yeah, and a sport massage and something called Qinei Tsang, a Chinese modality, I was always very involved. So I could, if I had a client, I could be dealing with their eating habits, which automatically makes you very intimate with your client, understanding eating patterns, what leads them to what kind of behavior, and how to establish a trust of communication, and physical rehabilitation and training to get them in a certain shape. I worked a lot on film, so I had 2, 3, 5 months to get them in a certain shape, or athletes where I had to get them back on their feet. So my work was always intimate in a way, but focused more on what would appear to be the physical. But once I dealt with the birth and the sort of chronic and acute pain that I stayed in for over a decade and not knowing if I was going to get back on my feet, that really led me to an internal vision. So I always say, like, sort of, what's the word in English? Like turning a t-shirt inside out and then wringing it, right? Suddenly I was stuck on the floor for hours and hours a day with myself, and my identification to how I felt useful in the world, what I identify myself as, and even the concept of what kind of mother I would be was just gone. It was in 180 degree. Even the kind of wife I would be, um, the kind of woman in the world I would be, all of it was gone because I had no idea if I was going to get well again. What would I do? What am I? Who am I? Like all that sort of just, it was like a volcano. And all my fears, like the deep hidden secrets of how I felt about myself was revealed. They were revealed. And so it was a deep internal look at myself and, the next journey of my life. So it really went in a way 180 degree, but in another way, it was just a continuation of what I've always done, right? Just going a little deeper.
I love how you can spin it to a positive slant, but I'm guessing to go from being so active, so physical to that almost must be an overnight
Yeah.
removal of that. I mean, we talk about change curves and all the emotions, but did you ever Well, how angry did you get? Did you get angry? Did you get sad? I mean, I think people can't understand that physical loss quite the same way as we talk about the mental loss of something, but the physicality with the mental. What was that like for you, that overnight removal of it?
Well, first of all, when you said positive spin, I'm actually not spinning it. I moved through it and I saw that it was a positive. So I didn't spin it. I, I witnessed how it was a
Right.
positive. So I witnessed that even though I had a strong exterior, I was really scared internally. And my ability to feel lovable, worthy of love, my ability to take my space, but I don't mean externally, internally, an expansion, a comfortableness with myself, which is an interesting statement, right? Was unraveled because of it. So I didn't spin it positive. It was a positive. I would have paid the price for not doing this kind of work. It was abrupt. So yes, to answer that question, it was very difficult, very scary. I got very insecure, very discombobulated, confused, very chaotic. And, in that chaos, I think it was the first time that I prayed a deep prayer to the universe because I couldn't fix anything and nobody seemed to be able to fix me at the time. So the whole fixing thing was gone. At that
Mm.
point, I had no idea if whatever concept of fixing was in my mind, if that could exist ever. So I was sort of floating in the unknown, which for most of us, not knowing is very scary. So getting
Absolutely.
comfortable with the unknown and with the chaos, with no ability to perceive an exit point, forced me to be in the here and now and to sort of extend, like I said, a prayer of Isabelle, with all my tools, I'm not able to get anywhere here and I'm falling. I am scared out of my mind. Help. Not knowing exactly what I was asking for, just knowing that whatever I had learned as of now was not getting me out of this. So looking back, I see that the beginning of my discomfort with really not knowing and the beginning of observing the floating, like feeling like I was just floating in nowhere land, but didn't know what else to do. So surrendering to this floating and not knowing, that's when I made space for what I call the divine, where you can put any word that you're comfortable with it. It's a word that makes sense to me because it's not based on anything I know, nothing I
Hmm.
can do. There was no knowing on my part and there was no doing on my part. It was just being in that state and it felt like a flow of goodness, flow of warmth, a flow of hope in a way. I know people have a
Mm.
funny relationship with hope, but for me, it was a good thing. So it just felt for no reason. That's a good point, actually. There was no reason for me to feel good, to be hopeful, and to feel warm and cozy. But that came in, and I think it's because I made space for it. So even though it felt like it was coming in, I think it was me shedding what allowed then what was in me, but pushed down to come through. And then I had like a moment where I don't want to spend too much time on that because people get sort of focused on that, but it's actually one of the least important, but it showed the wisdom of the body. So once I allowed what I've just expressed, my body started shaking. I was on my tailbone and it started shaking for 3 days, 3 nights, nonstop. I look back now and I see, oh, it's somatic work. My body was
Mm.
unraveling, right? On its own. It wasn't taught by a teacher. It knew exactly what to do and how long to do it. And even though I didn't know anything about it at the time, I felt good about it. It felt good. So I
Mm.
allowed. And from that moment on, it still took years for me to get back on my feet, but it was the beginning of a different way of being in the world, although I didn't realize that. And in a way, I feel like I'm still in it, right? I think I'll feel like I'm in it for the rest of my life, and that's okay. It's sort of the end of seeking. When you have an experience, it's hard to express. When you have an experience, somehow question seeds, and some questions that seem so important just disappear. There's a knowing that is not mental, but it's very peaceful, and you're okay
Mm,
with it. And then you start integrating that in your day to day. And then in the integration, there's more excavation. There's learning to apply it in your world every day with yourself, with your child, with your friends, with your work, with your husband. See, the experience needs to now be galvanized and utilized and expressed in your day to day. And I think it's that expression, like how much of it is expressed, that is the awakening. Meaning, what was so important, you realize you were taught by the world. And so you
mm,
learn, separate. Oh, that's what I was taught. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Does it serve me? Is it bringing peace in my life? How much energy and time will I spend on that? You just learn to navigate the world from a different foundation. And that takes years again, right?
yeah. I mean, I think what you're describing is something that I have pondered over many a time, which is how do I know what I want and what I actually like? Because I feel that sometimes, and I think I'm a very happy person, I'm a very positive person, and I will be content wherever I land. And I have personally, I've had traumatic injuries. I've served in the army. I've seen a lot of the world. And the one thing I know about myself is no matter what, I will get on with it. But the question I ask myself is, what do I want? And who am I? If you take away all these experiences, if you take away all these things that I've done, if I was in your position and just forced to lie there in myself, what would I find? And I don't think we get the chance as individuals very often to just sit in ourselves and to discover that. And the fact that you have and the acceptance that you went through, I feel it's a powerful lesson for us in to almost, not that I think we're all fighting with the world, but I think there's more conflict in ourselves than we realize. And it seems like you have moved beyond that into the acceptance. Does that
No,
make sense?
no, not beyond,
No?
not at all.
No?
No, but I've progressed,
Right,
and I
yeah.
think that's all it is. You can get very attached, I think, to moving beyond, whatever the beyond, the glamour, the glamorification of beyond, right? The master
Right.
state, the enlightened state. There's nothing wrong with it, obviously, but not sure what's happening with that nowadays. Being enamored with the beyond can really distract you from being present, and the beyond is
Mm,
being present. The beyond is just being here and now. We've been told for thousands of years, right? There's nothing I'm going to say here today that has not been said eloquently, beautifully, poetically. It's just my own humble experience of that
mhm,
truth. And yours will be different and your path will be different. And all
mm,
paths have their difficulties and their challenges and their wonderful moments. And it doesn't make one path better than the other. But the beyond is the here and now. And that's what meditation is, right? Just sitting. And again, because we're enamored with the competitiveness of it. How long can you meditate, right? We become competitive. Who's
Everything's
good at
competition.
meditation? Like, we ruined the whole thing. And do we look good meditating? Do we have the bun?
Oh.
Do we have the white clothes? Do we have the beads? Do we have the crystals? Do we have the
Yeah,
incense? Do we look good? Do we look 25 forever? Right? So our hair
yeah.
shiny and long and beautiful. Like the whole thing is being hijacked. But the truth is, if one would say, you know what, I hate meditating, and that's the way that I know of to confront what you just said, sitting.
Mhm.
That's what happened to me. I'd never meditated and I just sat there. So the beauty of that is you're watching your mind going nuts. It just goes crazy. So I couldn't go and run it away, couldn't
Yeah.
lift it away. I couldn't be busy with my clients. I was stuck. And it looks like that's what I needed in order to do it. Like the beauty of it all is that hopefully someone will need less than that. I needed to smack myself against the wall to get to that place. Like the truth is, I want to witness the world needing less drama and chaos
Oh,
to get to
yes.
that place. I think that's the goal. Like, do I really
Mhm.
need to burn my hand 5 times to understand that the flame will burn me? Or can I just learn differently, a little more easily? And that's the goal. So I would say I needed to be smacked against the wall, but perhaps you can just sit for 2 minutes, 3 times a day, whenever it's doable, and simply watch your mind. 2 minutes, most of us can handle it. But hey, you know what? If you can't handle two, do 30 seconds. I don't care.
Mm,
Just if that's what you know, then do that for 30 seconds several times a day. What happened is you're interrupting the pattern, your
mm,
thinking pattern. You're interrupting it over and over again, which is why I like short but often, because you keep getting in
mm.
the way of it. And before you know it, the pattern changes. But for you, it could be just 2 little walks during the day in the park, if there's a park near you, or a beach, or sitting in your garden and focusing on the sounds. Your body is extremely wise and clever, and you can really utilize it. You can really use your senses not to distract yourself, which is what we're doing often, but actually to focus yourself. So if you use your sense of smell, vision, and auditory to listen to nature around you, and hey, if you don't have nature, you can put classical music or something that soothes you, or actually focus on the sound of the cars or the helicopter or people talking next door, but focus and stay on that for 2 minutes. So you're outside of your pattern. So that's really the greatest lesson. It's always the same thing. That's the interesting part about sitting here and talking, right? And seeing my description as a visionary. I feel like it's just me and you, and I'm just saying, hey, that's the shit that happens to me. That's how
Yeah.
that's how much shit I needed to go through to get to the foundation of what we know is true. We all know that a breath will help us calm down immediately. That if you focus on your
Mm.
breath, you cannot focus on your thoughts. We all know that, and it's been told for thousands of years. Finding what do I need to get to that place where I finally want that? Like peace is finally very, very appealing. Distraction and fun is not as appealing as peace and joy, right? And the balance of that in your life.
It's really interesting you just say about what do you have to go through to get there. And I had another guest and we talked about the fact that they felt that we all had to go through some kind of struggle to become who we needed to be. And I don't know, and I don't have all the answers. I'm on the journey like everyone else is.
Yeah.
Um, I do know in my own life, I've had to reach certain limits for me to reflect and go, is this right for me? Whether it's a physical one, a mental one, or, something else. But I love the idea that you don't have to go through any of that. But I feel as humans, we just don't want to listen. But I also don't know if it's a cultural thing because, like you say, what we're learning, what we talk about here is centuries, thousands of years old. And you look to the Eastern cultures and they kind of get it and they kind of do it and they live a very different life from us. And you sit there going, well, is it just our culture then? Like, have we gone on this path where we've forgotten these basic tenets of how to live and how to just be? And we're just relearning that now as a society.
Well,
Well,
yes. And I would add that you answered the question by saying it's been taught for thousands of years. So wherever
Mhm.
you were in the world, it seemed that they were already talking about it way back then. So
Yeah.
maybe, like I know that technology is really bringing a new twist to it, a new
Mm,
way of being challenged by it all. But apparently they were dealing with that in the Bible times and before. So
mm,
yes, and also it seems to be a challenge that humanity have dealt with for a very long time. And therefore, instead of questioning its validity, surrendering that it is. It has been so. And now what, right? Now what do I do? What do I do as little me in my life to make the challenge work for me?
mm.
To go back to what you're saying, it doesn't feel to me as if that's spinning toward positive thinking.
Just is.
Yeah, I can look at my life and I can see the validity that the experiences that were the most challenging really served me. But I could have also surrendered to pity and a sense of hopelessness. And this is when I feel like grace has a place. Like a lot of the
Mm,
things that happened to me in my life that led me to where I'm at, which I love. I love where I'm at. It was not a decision that I was wise enough to pick, right? it happened to me. And sometimes it felt like I mentioned the example as a dog going to the vet, like, and you're pulling it, right? Often it feels like that. So there's a combination of my own choices and a combination of grace of something. Again, I go back to the word divine for the unknown, for this
Mm.
source, this power that I am more and more in touch. And it began, especially in that situation I explained to you. And that's when I felt it almost like rain come over me. And I haven't lost touch with it ever since. So I have an awareness of it, it's around. So it's almost like a river of kindness and a river. It's soft. And so when I fall, when I trip, I feel like I don't trip and fall on hard marble floor, which was my own hard judgment from my
Mhm.
mind, right? I fall on that soft river that carries me, which is what I call the grace. And then, whoops, I find myself back on my feet and I grab hold of a few rocks and I'm back up.
Amazing. Now you have, you've got a center. Is it the authenticity? I can't say
Yes.
the word. Authenticity stress less. And
Yeah.
you talk about a harmonic egg chamber and also got these intuitive sessions.
Yeah.
And what I'm really interested in kind of how what these are, because I think for people who obviously aren't familiar with your work, would be interested to hear. But also, I love you've got a beautiful concept around your intuitive sessions. I think, which is how that you create a space where people can have a conversation with their angels. And so, for
Yeah.
people how do you gently introduce people to this idea, and what does that mean in the terms
Yeah.
of your center and the work you do?
Yeah, I didn't create that concept. I do not know how to verbalize it. I don't know how to say really what happens, except that as I'm watching quantum physics, um, sort of explain more and more things about our world, it's starting to really make sense of what I do. So the healing work, energy work, some people would know it as Reiki, except I didn't go to a school, I didn't learn it. That spontaneously happened once I stopped shaking around for 3 days, 3 nights, it just came upon me. So I would be the kind of person that if I booked a massage and somebody would say, let me just do a little Reiki for a few minutes before we start, I would be like, no, no, I don't want Reiki. Right? Just massage me. That's really how I felt about it. And I remember thinking, even if it's true, oh my God, like, what if she's a mess? And then she's putting all her mess on top of my mess. Like, I don't want any of it. So
I
I
love
was
that.
in full judgment of it. So it's quite ironic that here I am, really. So it happened and it took me a while to understand. So at some point, I couldn't really walk well, but my body work was on the floor. So I thought, oh, maybe just I can do that on my knees and do the body work. They would go in a cocoon on a big mat and I
Mhm.
would work with my elbow, my forearm, my hands. Again, it's called Chine Tsang. And I started to do my thing and my hands moved up and I started to feel the air as thick as water with a current. It would start moving. And I remember thinking, can I swear here?
Oh yeah, for sure, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, fuck, I'm doing Reiki. Like, I was so pissed. I was like,
Oh,
there's
the
no
irony of fate.
freaking way. And I tried to do it again with my elbow and stuff and it wouldn't work and it would go back up. My client left and then it was my surrendering to that. So it took me a while
Mm.
to surrender to that, to trust it, surrender to that. And then guidance was the same thing. Guidance came at the same time when I stopped shaking. And suddenly there was this wisdom that would come when invited. So for me, that guidance, these moments of important truth to be said in a certain way with a client. I don't decide and I don't say, me, Isabelle, with the accumulation of knowledge. It springs from the same source. And if it's invited, if the person is really open and sincerely asking, it will come. I can't
Mm.
force it. So it's important that individuals are completely sincere when they sit and ask those questions, but they work together. And so that's why I said it's almost like angels talking to each other because I really step out of the way. I have nothing to do with it. Truly, I'm doing nothing. My job is how good am I at getting out of the way? That's my job. And to allow it to communicate. And so to return to the quantum physics, you know how they say we are 99.9% energy,
Mm.
vibration frequencies, I think they use the term. So think of it as if we are mostly space. Doesn't it make sense that when I get out of the way and allow the frequency, the space within me to collaborate with the frequency of the world, to collaborate with the frequency of the client. And I'm here just to be a conduit. I'm just a conduit, hopefully enhancing your ability to get in touch with these frequency and more connect directly without the need for someone to do it for you. And then hopefully people would come just because it's nice to have someone else to work with, right? The same way that you can sort of rub your shoulder, but it's so nice when someone else does it. So that's my
Mm.
hope in my head. I'm like, oh, I feel like I didn't know anything about it and I didn't go to school for it and I didn't have any concepts about it. So I have nothing to do with it, but it's like a third arm that I never knew I had that suddenly I can utilize. That's what it is. And then if we're mostly spaced, then it all makes sense. There's no boundaries between your space, my space, and the space of the world, and the
Mm.
space of the trees, and the space of dogs. And it's all one. The great master says we are all one. So correct. And our frequency are affecting each other. So that's the word. That's why angel is a way of describing the fact that it is done through me. I'm not doing. Actually, my first year, because I was quite reticent about it, um, I could tell someone just wanted to check me out like a test. And I was more insecure in the beginning. And I would say to the person, because I didn't feel a sincere desire to get energy work, it was just more like a test. And I'd say,
Mm.
I'm not doing anything. Like if it's not gelling, if it's not happening, it's not going to happen. I can't make it happen. I haven't learned it. But I was pressured into it, which right now I'm over that. So right now I would say, hey, I just don't feel it. So I'll reimburse you, or we can sit and talk or, whatever. Sometimes it starts like that and it becomes something beautiful. But I tried, I stood in front, I lay people on something called a WAF, which is a huge sort of, looks like a blown up thing that you put in the water of pools, like
Oh,
the
okay.
floaty thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's designed in a in a in a way that when you lay on it, it gives you almost like a biofeedback with your own breath. Very, very
Oh, wow.
subtle. So it's very
Mhm.
soothing. It's like biofeedback. So they lay on that and then I stand and I do a little prayer and then it happens. But nothing happened. Nothing happened with that individual. And I stood and I stood and I said, I can't force it because I have nothing to do with it. So this is why I try to describe it, but I don't know how accurate it is. I just know it's not me.
Yeah.
And then
So,
the harmonic, go ahead, please.
no, you go on, you go on. The
No, but
harmonic.
ask, and then I'll show you, I'll talk
Yes.
about the harmonic.
So, like, what sort of people come to you then? I mean, what expectations do you think people have when they come to you? Because there's obviously an alignment between the fact that it's just a thing that happens, but is it a do you have to believe? Do you have to like be open? I get, or be open and present. How do you kind of tell your clients what to expect?
I don't. I don't. They come with their own expectations. There's my website
Sure.
that describes the very few things that I offer.
Mm.
We talk, so automatically you'll establish a relationship. They'll vibe with you and they won't. Usually it works out great. Um, Sometimes through the harmonic egg, they'll end up doing healing sessions. Sometimes they've had their own experiences with healing sessions and they come with their experience and then they experience me and it works or it's not their thing. Most of the time it's good. I really believe that people come to me when it's really meant to be.
Mm,
So
okay.
I'm not a huge business, right? And for the longest time, I had a little bit of presence on Instagram and Facebook, but very, very humble, very mellow. So most of it is word of mouth. And it's been many, many years now. Um, so it doesn't matter what they know or don't know about it, because really what matters is how do we connect and what kind of conversation do we have and do we feel
Mhm.
safe with each other? And you can't fake that. It is or it
Yeah.
isn't. And Some people know nothing about my healing work for years. They just do the egg, and then eventually they like look around and they see my big temple and they'll say, "What are you doing there anyway?" Right? And then we
Yeah.
talk about it. And sometimes it leads to working together as healing work, and sometimes it doesn't. So there's no effort. This place was not created for effort. So
I love that.
yeah. So they nowadays people have a lot of their own experiences with all these modalities, and they all have their own learning curve about healing work and energy. Sometimes I get a lot of businessmen that are more comfortable with the harmonic egg because it looks like a machine, looks like a thing. And you're isolated, you don't have another human being with you, and they feel safe within their own space. That's a good introductionary step to healing work because it is healing work. It's just different.
Yeah. So what is the harmonic egg? Because this has fascinated me as well.
Yeah, I love the egg. So it's literally a huge egg. It's made out of wood and it has sacred geometry. And the sacred geometry of the oval shape of the egg moves the sound and the light 365 degrees. So it's just light sound, a good sound system. That's all with the shape, with the sacred geometry that creates a specific experience. The music is designed for the egg by Gail, the creator, and the musicians that do that for a living. So you step in, there's a comfortable chair that you can recline all the way to zero gravity, which is really soothing to your central nervous system. And really, it's a complete reset. It's a central nervous system reset. No matter what, 99% of the time, people come out of it as if they were like master meditators. They come out of it so
Yeah.
chill. So if anything, it gets you to that really, really chill place, calm, quiet, peaceful. And some people have never had like
Mm.
an experience of what that is. What is it to not be in a fight or flight state? And once you're in that rest and digest state, the body knows how to fix and heal, right? That's what it does all day long. Moves around, the immune system moves around and gets rid of certain things. That's what it does. So when it's busy fighting imaginary monsters, right? Constantly doing that because the imaginary monsters are your thoughts that most of it will never come true, but they're thoughts, worries. So when you calm down and you let go of your fist and you stop fighting those, it's kind of the state that I was in that night that I started shaking. It's that surrendered state. And now you allow the body in its own wisdom to do what needs to be done. And you're finally quiet. Your mind is like, shh, you're just there. And so sometimes it's an amazing way to introduce yourself to what meditation is all about. And the whole point is to change your default mode of worrying, of being scared, of being angry, of reaction as opposed to response. So it's just like if people come once a week, they just boop, to just reset there, so that eventually it becomes your new normal in life. You just start behaving differently. So if, I'm going to make it big just to make a point. If somebody pisses you off and each time you slap someone, the consequences of the slap means the person would slap you back maybe, or yell, or run away and tell everybody at work you're insane, and on it goes. That's the reaction. But if your response was, that really hurt my feelings, but can you explain to me when I did that? Or maybe it's, oh, I'm so sorry. I really had no right of saying that.
Mhm.
The response will therefore bring a different consequence because that interaction was different. And the person might have come not liking you and might come out and say, you know what? Actually, she's kind of nice and I misunderstood her. And the consequences of that creates different ripples in your life that creates a less chaotic life.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? So the egg
Yeah.
is an amazing tool to do that as well, like a deep meditation.
It does sound divine. And it's just reminded me of two things actually. One is, so I live in a forest on the border of Wales in the
Oh,
UK.
beautiful.
It's wonderful. But I did a few years ago. There's this thing like humans go back to, but it's called float in the forest. But basically, it's an egg-shaped pod, but it
Hmm.
has salt water in it,
Oh,
and you just float.
yes. Yes,
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah,
And now I'm like, I
exactly.
need to go back. I need to go and reset because that was one. But
Yeah.
I wonder if this is true. So I find, again, I've got very busy brain. I think we all have very busy brains. And when I first tried to do meditation, I've got out of the habits. First thing, one or two things will happen with me. One is either I will fall asleep or my brain will be like, ding, 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 all the things I need to do. Um, and I suspect this is a common reaction for many people, right? One or the other.
Yes.
Do you have, I mean, I suppose it's different for each person, but what has your approach been to people who come in with the brain that doesn't switch off? Because I imagine, like, I've done a lot of work in psychology and neuroscience, so I get it and I know it's important. I know I need to do more of it for myself. But what can people expect who haven't done anything like that and who don't quite get it? How do you articulate that the benefit of just being?
I
Have
don't
you?
have to articulate it. It goes back to that breath. So now I am not very good at giving one answer as if it fits everybody. Like, the one thing I
That's
do
fair.
know is that we're all very, very, very different. So my entry point might be very different for every person. Every person will dictate where we start. But I go back to the breath. So instead of trying to explain, which all I'm doing is going to the level of the mind and adding more words and sentences and
Yeah.
more thinking about it and more analyze and an explanation and debate, right? Which goes nowhere. There's a million books, there's a million podcasts. We can study and talk about and listen to people all day long. Some people do spend hours and hours a day just doing that. What happens is what matters is how much of it do you bring back into your life? What's the
Mm.
experience of it? How does it change the living experience of your life? And is it getting better? Whatever better is for you. So if somebody comes with just that question, all I will say is, again, breathe in 4 seconds, breathe out 8 seconds, or hey, take 2 breaths and notice when your breath goes from in and just before it goes to out. There's that little bridge where there's a point where it meets the breath in and the breath out, and the breath in and the breath out. There's that little meeting point. Focus on that for 2, 3 breaths, like that point. In, right? You can't think.
Mm.
You will feel everybody. There's a certain amount of calm that will come. And most people will say, yeah, that feels really good, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to convince them. And I would say, wouldn't it feel nice to live more in that space than less? Wouldn't it be nice to create moments in your day where that's accessible? Because it is. You just did it. It's not hard at all. Like I said, for some people, working out will be it. Some people a run, but you can also run and think. So that's why the breath is amazing. It's just, we can all access it. It's cheap and we can all do it because we all have to do it anyway. So, and you cannot trick yourself into thinking, I don't have time, because just one breath, you will feel it. So if you tell yourself, I'll just do that one breath, like I said earlier, whenever I think of it, eventually it's addicting. Eventually you look forward to that breath. And that's the beginning of the divinity, the grace, that other place pulling you. You don't have to be pushed toward it. It's pulling you because you remember that one breath, how good it felt. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take a breath right now. And you take that breath.
I love
So moments of experiencing it is really all I want to explore with people. This is also why my space is on top of a mountain. I'm surrounded by ocean view, mountain view, trees.
Oh,
There's birds everywhere. There's deers. There's coyotes. There's a lake. It's the space itself. You just step out, and it's all about that.
sounds wonderful. I was just up in Scotland at the weekend visiting the Isle of Mull, which is in the Inner Hebrides, so one of the islands off Scotland's coast. And it was the same thing. And we got there, and I mean, I live in a forest, as I said, so I'm used to space. But the combination of the mountain and the sea, and I saw otters, and I love
Mm.
otters, and the wild otters, and you just think we need to
Yeah.
do this more often. We need to
Yeah.
make the space to do it more often. You're so right. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love what you're doing. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
One last question for you then. Do you have a vision for yourself and for the work that you do that you're trying to achieve, or you just, like I say, going with the flow and seeing what comes?
I used to feel so bad about that, and now I dropped it. I've never been good at a vision. I've had several careers, And every time shit happened and suddenly I'm 180 somewhere else, the same way that the birth of my boy changed my career. That's kind of the story of my life. Um,
Mm,
and I really had a weird relationship to that about myself. Like I would look at people that had great drive to accomplish, achieve, and I'd be like, oh my God, what is that like? I feel like something was wrong with me, right?
right.
I
Yeah.
dropped that. If I was to go anywhere near what my hope would be, is to get better and better at integrating what it is that I do at my temple. So I feel like my job is to become, that's why it's called authenticity. My job is to learn to live all that better and better, see more and more peace in my life, see more peace in the way I communicate the things that scares me, what I all our little insecurities, our little fears, what we think we won't be lovable if we share, to be less reactive, more responsive, and to apply all that more and more in my day to day. That is becoming a passion I never expected. That's what I want. I just want that peace to be more and more present in my life. I want that to be more and more real. And it's never boring because life constantly brings challenges. Life knows you. Life is me, right? Life is like a mirror, just a representation of the jumble of emotions that I might not make sense of. So the universe is like, yeah, let me show you. So you look around and whoever is present in your life, whatever situation you're living, there's a part of you who said yes to that. And
Mm,
so you look up
yeah.
and you're confronted to all these area that you unconsciously said yes to, but they're there. They're in your life. They're present and you need to deal with it. So how present and how peacefully can I address all that and unravel and shed and let go of the patterns that are not serving me anymore. So it's very simple, but it's huge and it's becoming my main theme more and more. It was introduced to me unbeknownst to me in a way, meaning I didn't consciously go after that. I never thought this is what I would answer. Like the concept that I would answer this to your question is funny. But it is
Mm,
true that if there was anything that I would need to reach for, it would be that. And I would say it's something that I need to sink in. And that's it. And because I think that my work is a reflection of that. The more real that is in my life, the more I can step out of the way and be present for my client. So my work in a way starts when I step away from the temple and I'm into my life, whatever that means, right? So there's almost no beginning, no end between the two more and more.
mm,
And learning to be present and vigilant that way is constantly entertaining. It's not entertaining to the outside world, meaning outside looking in could be considered quite boring. You're not looking for excitement as much. Excitement is different as I sink into all this more and more. And the world is telling you you don't have a life if your life is not exciting and glamorous, right? This technology is showing us all the things we need to look like and be like in order to be exciting, in order to be desirable, in order to be loved. And you need to, the difference, like we're going back to the beginning of our conversation, that is not the truth. That is taught upon you. That's not
mm,
true. And then differentiating, is that what I'm being told? How do I feel lovable? Like, what is being lovable? What does that look like for me? And usually it has to do with authenticity, meaning honesty, the ability, the strength of looking at yourself as you are, accepting it, seeing it, forgiving it, deciding what do you want from that. Like it's like those are seeds that are planted. What do I want to grow from that? And this internal work is really what brings, self-worth, right? Not all the other things we're being told.
so true. I love that. Thank you so much. I'm going to reiterate two things you said, and then we'll kind of wrap up. One is, um, I want people to think about the question you posed, which is, what have you unconsciously said yes to in your life that you've
Me?
let in? And it's a really important question. And the second one really is building that authenticity and just being comfortable in you and ignoring the noise. I think these are, if you take away nothing else, those two things of just be you and don't worry about the rest.
I would rephrase not ignoring, but not fighting it and not running away from,
Let's do that.
right?
Yeah. Love that. Thank you.
Knowing that you can be within it, but it's not dictating who you'll become, what you'll do, what you'll say. It's there. The noise is there. It's okay, right? The mountain is okay with the lake coexisting with it. And it's not saying, oh my God, I can't be a mountain because there's a lake there. So learning to be okay with all. So was there a
Perfect.
question?
No, that was it. That was
Okay.
what I just want people to take that away. I feel like I could just listen to you. I can see why you do the work you do because you are so calming to listen to as well. I love it.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
but if people want to come and find your you and your center, how can they find you? What's the easiest way to do that?
Thank you for asking. So the easiest way is my website, authenticitystressless.com. You can also reach out to the same thing, Authenticity Stressless, on Instagram. There's a little bit of a presence on Facebook too. But honestly, just go straight to the website, send me an email, and we'll start there.
Sounds amazing. When I next come to LA, which isn't planned for a while, I will try and find time to come visit your center because I feel
Hey,
like
that would be so nice.
it's amazing. Absolutely. I'll tell my sister as well. I can't guarantee she would do it, but I will tell everybody. Um,
I'm all good
thank
with that. You're a very good interviewer, by the way.
It's very kind of you.
Very
Thank you.
pleasant to
Well,
be here.
same applies. So, sadly, we do have to wrap up. So, thank you ever so much, Isabelle, for your time.
Thank you.
I hope to continue following your journey, and I genuinely will come and find you when I next come to LA, which won't be for a while, but it is on the list now.
Good.
But look after yourself and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. You too.